Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Boiler Express podcast. We've got Russ finally.
Holy crap. What a hat. What a
Toby Keith, man. You got to honor the guy.
See,
yes.
if you would have been here before we hopped on,
Yeah.
I was blaring Toby Keith. It was a whole
That he
thing.
was.
Rest
That he
in
was.
peace to the goat.
Well, we've also got Dylan, Frank, the whole crew here tonight. First time I've been back in like 6 weeks, but don't judge.
Way to have a day job.
I know, right?
Jeez.
Well, we want to have a huge shout out to some of our sponsors here. Martin Vintage, awesome, super cool, different type of old school Purdue shirts and such. Use promo code BXP at checkout for 10% off. I've got to get back into flow, man.
It's not you. It's Russ tipping his cap.
God bless.
Right when I was taking a drink too, you just see him tip his cap, milady.
Never fails. CBB Analytics. CBB Analytics provides us all with a host of different pieces of information about Purdue basketball. Frank usually uses it because he's got the big brain. And then also shout out to Cincy Blitzboards. They are a Boilermaker owned business. CincyBlitzboards.com. If you look at Russ and Dylan, they've got their Blitzboards hanging in the background. Cool little party, game, tailgate, bar mitzvah, whatever. But we'll get into the show so people don't have to listen to me talk anymore. How are you guys doing tonight?
Fantastic. Glad Russ could make it with his dial-up internet.
Dude, he literally jumped in right as I hit go
live. And all I see is I look down to look at my iPad. I look back up and there's Russ with an ill-fitting cowboy hat.
Right on time. Hey, that's why I don't wear it, man. That's why I don't rock the cowboy hat. But
listen, you and I gotta go cowboy hat.
Did you buy
shopping.
that at Baby Gap or?
Well, let's first of all, my dome is like enormous, so nothing fits it right. So yeah, I definitely need some help getting a cowboy hat from somebody that knows what they're doing.
And
you and I will go on a cowboy hat date. That's for summer wearing anyway. My other one's genuine rabbit fur, no big deal.
Genuine.
That'll upset some people, I'm sure. But
yeah. Anyway. Good talk.
All right.
Jesus.
Oh, you got knocked the rust off.
It's hate week part 2.
Right? It is hate week part 2.
It's hate week in multiple ways,
that's
boys.
The only game this week. So
yeah.
I mean, Purdue hockey, they take on the losers too.
Oh yeah.
So we got multiple hate weeks going on.
Yeah, Dylan, you wanna chit chat about the old hockey folk a little bit?
Oh yeah, they're killing it. Okay, they had a weekend series against Notre Dame at Notre Dame, swept them. A lot of talk from the Notre Dame side saying, "Oh, there's no way Purdue's going to go in and win," and they did. First one was 5-2. The second game of this weekend series, they were down 4-0
in like the first 6 minutes, wasn't it?
In the first 5 or 6 minutes,
yeah.
Came back to win it 6-4, like video game stuff these dudes are putting on.
Yeah,
it was awesome. It was a great weekend of hockey. Purdue currently ranked 14. Notre Dame was at 21 in the ACHA.
Oh, nice.
They sent me this jersey, which is incredible. They're gonna do. I think I heard Matt say that they're gonna do another order on jerseys at some point in the future. So stay tuned for that. I'll tweet it from Purdue Hockey. So anybody that's asked me about these beautiful jerseys, these wonderful jerseys, they should be going another batch going on sale here soon. But and then it's hate week. They have Indiana at the Indy Fuel practice arena. I forget what it's called off the top of my dome. So yeah, big series for them coming up this weekend. It'll be the last home series of the year. I think the last home game of the year even. So the good looks from Purdue hockey. Those dudes are out there killing it. We're working on a little some Purdue hockey and I and Boiler Express. So stay tuned for that. A lot of fun stuff that we're planning next season with the hockey club, and it is very exciting, and I cannot wait. So that is it from the hockey side of things.
Yeah, good. Well, we had a entertaining week last week. Obviously, we played Wisconsin, which was just a baller game, and then who'd we play midweek? I can't remember. No, Northwestern. That's who it was. Both games were really, really good games. I I really enjoy a lot of these closer games in conference just because I like having the pressure on. And I think both games were very different in how we won them. Especially if you look at Wisconsin. I mean, Edie did not have his greatest game. And to have everybody step up around him to really win that game was impressive and good to see. But Northwestern continued to just kind of hang around and do their thing. So, what are your guys' thoughts about the week that was?
Boo Booey. Boo
God,
Booey's name is
that
fun to
guy's
say.
so annoying.
I could say I wish I had a name like Boo Booey. That's such a fun name to say.
He is that player that I hate unless he would be on my team.
Oh, I think he's you're
I
waiting
don't
for
hate
him to graduate. Just graduate already,
Yeah,
please.
yeah, that's what
I
it
don't
is.
hate him. I don't hate him. He's
him.
outrageous.
Yeah, I don't
he's-
hate him.
he's so
It's
good.
more of a like
He's
just
frustrating
so
because he's so good.
annoyed of playing against him.
He's
Yeah.
too good. Quit being so
Well, it's
damn good.
frustrating because he's
Boo
so
Booey.
good, but then he goes off against Purdue, and then we'll have down games
7
against everybody
points
else.
next
Yeah.
game. Yeah.
Hey, but that's the sign of a good player, man. Showing up when the stakes are high.
Well, he
but
could
yeah,
not.
Yeah, he
maybe
could
take a
not.
night off once in a while. Jeez.
Yeah, Jesus.
But that was a game. I mean, that game went into overtime, and there were a lot of shots that were just like they were just like circus shots.
Yeah.
Ty Berry had like a heave that he tossed up at the end of the shot clock that was probably 30 feet from the rim. Like,
Was
he
that
just
the one
grabbed the
where
ball.
Edie was right in front of him, or was that Boo Booey?
No, that was Bowie's shot, but yeah, Ty Berry shot like the ball. Like they almost lost possession of the ball. He turned to his side, grabbed it, and just like chucked it up as he was turning. It went in. Yeah, then Boo Booey had that kind of fading out of bounds shot with Edie guarding him, and
Russ
that
just
one
had a
also went
freaking
in.
stroke.
I'm not sure what Russ
Yeah,
is
all right,
doing over
Russ,
there.
yeah.
Eh.
That's his wake up meds kicking in.
Yeah.
That cowboy hat was a little too tight. Sorry. I don't know. The blood's returning. now,
Lack
so
of
we're good.
blood to the brain.
What year did you buy that? God.
Yeah. Does it have
Four-
lead paint on it?
4 hat
two-
sizes ago.
2008, 2009. Yeah.
I was like,
I was
Nice.
definitely about
5,
40 to 50 pounds lighter when I bought that hat. Yeah. So that's
You
that's
Oh,
gained
we
weight.
know.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Rush, you're handsome. I don't care what they say.
Love you.
Yeah, I didn't feel like Purdue did a ton wrong against Northwestern defensively. It seemed like
Isn't that
everything.
a good feeling.
Yeah,
I
it
feel-
just seemed
I
like
feel
they hit a ton of tough shots. Like we were forcing them into, kind of fadeaway twos or pull up twos that were for the most part contested, and they just went in. I mean, a lot of the threes they took, I was happy that they took. They just went in. Bowie had that double contested three contested by 2 players. Basically in transition, like he came down, thought about it, and was like, "All right, I'm gonna toss this up now," and it went in. And I mean, this game honestly had me worried. I was pretty scared in this game just because I know Northwestern's ability, it seems, against Purdue to get a bucket is just like whenever they want one, they'll just go get one. And it ended with a pretty hilarious tantrum by Chris Collins. So
Yeah,
that was fun.
He made
clownish-
Fran look normal.
Yeah.
God, what a
So
trag-
like
Ugh.
my big thing with both Wisconsin and Northwestern, I feel like both games weren't like we didn't do a lot wrong, if that makes sense. Like I felt like both games were decently defended. What's up, Nick?
Nicky boy.
You were a comment here from Nick asking us what's up. What's up, Nick? It is good to
We're
be
doing
back.
a podcast, Nick. What do you think?
Yeah,
What are
it's
you
kinda-
watching right now? What
It's
do you-
good to be
First
back.
time.
Don't
Yeah,
scare the
one
first guest away now. Come on.
If we haven't
One
scared
thing-
away Nick yet, we're not going to. Yeah.
One thing we've yet to mention about the Northwestern game is the fouls. So do we want to get into that? Do we want to get into?
I almost
No,
wanted
the
to comment
refs
when
love
somebody said something
Purdue.
about the Collins, end of game antics, and I said something about it. Go check out. There's a show called the Big Ten Show that a guy from the Illini Cast podcast named Sonny, and then Husker
Sonny.
something or other. His name's Justin, Nebraska fan. He's really cool to talk to.
Love
but
you, Sonny. You handsome son of a gun.
I went on there Sunday. They just dropped it this afternoon, so go check that out. But I started going a little bit of rant on there that I'm getting tired of these crybaby coaches, like these crybaby fan bases and crybaby
Cook
coaches.
refs.
And I hate I hate limiting speech. I hate that. I hate fining people. But if you're going to complain and complain and complain about the officials to try to, there's no other reason to do it than to try to influence the outcome of the game. Something's got to happen, because what's going to happen is we're going to get to another March where they swallow the whistle and they call the game differently, and it's going to affect the outcome of a game. So I'm over this. I'm over the fan bases. I'm over the coaches. Like, to me, Brad Underwood is not a professional coach. Chris Collins is not a professional coach. If that's the antics you're going to go to, like, that's ridiculous. I don't care if you went and shook Edie's hand and gave him a hug on the way out and thanked the crowd and all this other stuff. Like, come on now. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, you're a grown man and you're whining about officials, and it's literally triggering this firestorm on social media. People clipping half of a clip and going, look at this foul, and not showing the front half of the clip. Like, and it's going to have an effect. Like, it can have an effect. Like, it's not something that should just be brushed under the rug and forgot about. But I don't know what you do about these coaches saying this stuff.
Yeah, and
Emotional, damn it.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like, Russ, you can look at it and you can say, okay, Purdue shot 46 through free throws. Northwestern shot 8. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and Collins did make that point several times in his post-game press conference. He did not bring up the fact that 4 of those were due to the double technical from his ejection. So if he at least wanted to be fair, he could have said 42-8. That's still a large margin. But he acted like it was this thing that just doesn't happen. He's like, you guys have been doing this as long as me. When was the last time you seen that? Well, I think as of this morning, there have been 22 games this season where there have been at least 30 free throw disparity. So actually more than what we saw.
Yeah,
Now,
2010 Wisconsin versus Purdue is one of them.
Oklahoma, Purdue.
Yeah, Oklahoma. Yep.
Blake Griffin game.
Yeah.
So like, this notion that it's something that never happens and it's just outrageous, A, is wrong, and B, this idea that, both teams are going to commit an equal number of fouls. I mean, Northwestern is ranked 327th in personal foul rates going into that game. I don't know where they are now. I imagine it's probably a little bit higher, but fouls have been a problem for them all season. Now, couple that with the fact that before the game, he said, I've got 5 bigs. They each have 5 fouls. I'll use them all if I need to. So you flat out say that, like, okay, I mean, you say it without saying it. My goal is going to be to foul as many times as I can. And then you complain about free throws. Come on, man. Like, you basically told us it was part of your game plan. Yeah, but I'm with you, Russ. I lost a lot of respect for Chris Beard when he did the same thing at Texas, when he made the same comments in his post. And I think Russ, the reason that these coaches do it is to take some of the heat off themselves. It's like, well, no, it's the officiating. It's the officiating. But I mean, Northwestern, what percentage of their shots came from 3 in that game? I mean,
probably 60%.
Exactly. That's another thing I was going to say. Nate Oates can be added to that list, because Nate Oates did the same thing against Alabama.
He did.
When they shot, literally, what was it, 70% or plus of their shot attempts were from behind the 3-point line, and then he complained about the fouls. Well, you don't draw fouls out past the 3-point line. You draw them in the paint, and everybody's scared to death because they're little crybabies. They're little scaredy cats of Zach Edey. And so they don't even take it in the post, and they're going to shoot from outside the 3-point line and then complain about the fouls. That's ridiculous. And at the same time, like you said, the strategy against Purdue is literally to throw bodies at Purdue and just beat up Edey and know that they're not going to call everything.
And then on the other end, Russ, people try to draw Edey out of the paint and get him on the perimeter. And then, so like that, like you can't just say one team shot 46 free throws, the other shot 8. Therefore, there is a problem with officiating. And like, yeah, sure. I mean, you can go on Twitter and show, hey, here's a clip. There's that clip going around. I had 2 people send it to me via text of Zach Edey and Matthew Nicholson, where he got his elbow tangled up with him, and it looked like he elbowed him in the head. And it's like, oh, here's a foul that he got away with. Was that an offensive foul that didn't get called? Probably, but like, you could. There's 30 or 40 of those per game on both sides.
But even that play in particular that I tried to point out on one of the replies was the beginning of the play. The reason the Northwestern player's arm is there is because he's reaching through Edey, has his arm between Edey's arms trying to get the ball, and then he gets caught with his arm there. When a guard does that on the perimeter, right, and somebody's arm is out and he rakes his arms through, it's, way to draw the foul. Way to really put the defender in the bad spot by drawing the foul. But when Edey does it, it's, he got away with another one. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I
Not
don't
to mention
understand.
the scars on Edie's arms. Like if you
Dude,
notice,
it's obnoxious.
So those are supposedly from Trevion. We had some comment earlier this season that said those scars are actually from Trevion Williams from practice.
I
From
can see it.
practice, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say there's a couple of them that I saw were bloody after some games last year.
Oh yeah.
But like, what's this conspiracy theory about Zach Edey?
Is it like the
drives me
Taylor
crazy.
Swift conspiracy theory? Or
Oh, it's
It's-
just like
He's
no
the best
one,
player in the country, and everybody's gonna hate on him. It's just
but
like if
no one wants to believe that he's good. No one wants to believe that he's a good
He's
player.
just
Everyone
tall.
wants to believe it's that he gets away with every call. I mean,
yeah, what even Jay Bill is saying too, like, oh, if he was 5'4", it'd just be a lot cooler, but because he's 7'4", it's not really that impressive.
Well,
yeah, Haslam said the same thing. Like, I lost a lot of respect for that guy. It's like, okay, yeah, he's 7'4", but like there are other guys, I'm not going to name any names, who are equally as tall, if not taller, who aren't putting up the numbers he is. So if that was all it took, we'd be seeing it a lot more.
So-
Yes,
I'm
he's
not
7'4",
so
but
since
like,
we don't want to disparage players from other teams, I'll throw out Will Berg, for example, right? Will Berg is a guy on our bench that he's developing. He is getting there. He's shown great improvements, but he's not on Zach Edey's level, or he'd be playing Zach Edey's minutes. Like it
Mhm.
just doesn't happen. You don't roll out of bed at 7 foot and play the way
and all of a
Edey's
sudden,
playing.
yeah. And anyone who thinks otherwise, I question their knowledge in basketball. I said it, I'm going to be that guy. But like, if you just say like, oh, he's 7'4", that's all it takes. I mean, it's silly, but it's like, no one wants to believe that he's good. Everyone wants to believe, oh, he gets every call. He commits offensive fouls all the time. He's elbowing guys in the face. I don't see it. I've watched every game. I go back and rewatch the games and I look for those types of things. I don't see it. Does he get away with some shoulders? Yeah, shoulders are a little bit more ambiguous. I've never seen him elbow a guy in the face and have it not get called. I mean, even that one with Matthew Nicholson, there wasn't really an elbow to the face. It was more just incidental contact. But then people talk about, well, he camps in the paint 3 seconds. Now he sets moving screens. That's the one that started coming out after the Indiana game. He sets moving screens, moving screen here, moving screen there, moving screen there. I mean, so like no one wants to believe that like he's actually a good player. They just think that like Purdue has like paid the NCAA a lot of money, and we're just trying to get away with this. We're trying to buy ourselves a championship, and they're going to uncover it. I mean, like what's the conspiracy theory here? It's outrageous, and it's frustrating to constantly like see this narrative perpetuated that Edey gets away with 100 offensive fouls a game. I just started asking people to show them to me, and then they just stop. So
Did somebody read Nick's last comment? By the way, I just want to, before we get too far. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like enough noise.
let's read it here
happen,
for our audio listeners. He said the BS thing about the foul situation is the NCAA has said they're addressing it, and you should be allowed to play defense. Agreed. And like we've seen the rules of basketball not really change, but kind of be called in a different way that allows for offense to flow a little bit more and defense to be a little bit harder to play. And again, it's not that the rules have changed; it's that we're calling it different. Like think about calls that used to be a thing and then went away, like the flop, the cylinder, the double foul. Like those are rules that were put into place, and they just stopped calling them.
So, not to really segue, but kind of segue a little bit. And I posed this question to the group chat the other day. Is it time for Purdue to accept the villain status that we've kind of had and just embrace that? Almost, and I don't want to compare us to this team, so bear with me. But almost like how Michigan has kind of been the last couple seasons.
I mean, I feel like the players have.
Yeah.
I feel, I mean, Braden and Zach especially, they seem to feed off of that.
Yeah.
You've seen a few games where Edey will stare at the opponent's benches, and he never used to do anything like that.
Yeah.
Well,
He hasn't done it in a few games, but there was a game or two there. I remember sending in the group chat where he just kind of does a quick stare and mean mugging and stuff he never used to do.
Yeah, that's the answer to your question, there, Frank.
I'm not trying to compare us to Michigan, but I would say that the last probably 3 seasons, Michigan football and Purdue basketball has kind of been pretty comparable in terms of like big expectations and then falling short.
I hope it's equally comparable considering what Michigan football just did.
Yes.
Let's hope.
The point I'm trying to get to.
Rusty, I think interrupted you. What were you getting at there?
No, you're good. I was just saying that's the answer to your question there, Frank. That's why there's this conspiracy theory about Edey and foul calls, because when you have a team that's as dominant as what Purdue has been in basketball the last several years, you have to find something. With Michigan, they handed it to you on a silver platter, right? They just ran headfirst into these allegations. They kept doing shady stuff and didn't even, weren't even ashamed of it. But you can't look at Payne in the basketball program and the way that he talks and the way he builds that program and find that kind of shady stuff. So now you got to find something else. Like, what's the reason? Like, that's today's culture, right? Like, another tangent here, but like, you've got to find a reason why somebody else is successful. You can't just say, hey, they figured it out. They know what they're doing and they're excelling. You've got to find a reason. Why? How can we tear them down? How are they cheating? There's something that's wrong. Like, why did they have some unfair advantage? And that's just going to happen when you're a team that's at the top, which is ironic because we don't have the tournament success yet. So, like, I don't know why, if everybody's going to sit there and say, oh, well, they're just going to falter in March, don't worry about Purdue, yet they're very worried about Purdue and they're talking about the foul troubles and the foul calls. It's like, okay, which way you want to have it? Like, are you not worried about us or are you worried about us?
And what
Great
I think is
point, Russ.
ironic too is that nobody brings this stuff up with UConn or North Carolina,
Right,
or-
because they've
or
had
Houston,
they've had some
or-
postseason success for
Yeah.
and that. I think that's the missing piece there. But
yeah.
on some positive notes, let's see. As a team against Northwestern, we had 23 assists. Braden Smith had 16 of those.
That's bananas.
And like, so Northwestern chose to basically blitz. I'm gonna say the blitz. I know there's kind of a spectrum there, but Northwestern chose to blitz Purdue's ball screens. For anyone who doesn't know, it basically means to just double team until they pass or pick up the ball. And Braden was just like, okay, cool. Like his poise was fantastic. The problem when you do that, when you create a 3-on-4 scenario where you have 3 guys guarding the other 4 players. And so they brought some help to tag Edie on the roll, meaning they pulled a guy out from the perimeter to come in and stop Edie from just rolling right to the basket. And Braden did a great job of finding open shooters, hitting Edie on the roll when they created one-on-one scenarios. I mean, it was just a field day for him. And then, good segue into Wisconsin. We saw Wisconsin decide to play drop coverage on Braden to try to keep everything in front of him and invite that mid-range pull-up. And what did he do? Went off for 19
Every
points.
time.
And he hit that mid-range pull-up. He was like, all right, that's going to be there. I'm going to take it. And that was something we saw earlier in the season. We saw him hitting that shot consistently. And so teams kind of changed the way they started to defend him because he showed that, like, I'm going to hit this shot about 50% of the time. I think he's 48% on the season in those mid-range pull-ups. So, and then like D1 average is, I think, like 35%. So he's about 10% above average on those. So he kind of showed, I think he sent a message in these last 2 games. He said, if you blitz me and you're going to put 2 on the ball, I'm going to make the right pass. And if you try to take away my ability to distribute, I'm gonna score. It's a interesting comment here. I have IU so much. Yeah.
There it is.
So much. There's the
I hate
clarification.
IU so much. I see. Okay, yeah.
Oh, hey.
Wasn't sure if we've had some opposing fans come on here and try to talk some smack. I thought that might have been what was
Get
going
to work,
on.
Alex.
Alex is one of us.
Yeah, just making sure here.
That's Alex is a former heaveight wrestler at Purdue.
Oh, so don't mess with Alex.
Don't mess with
Got
Alex.
it.
And
Glad he's on our side.
He's a local coworker.
Nice.
I
Well,
see.
Alex, thank you for your comment. We appreciate that.
And your
Yes.
Academy boy.
IU won tonight. They pulled it out against Ohio State. Tune
Do
in
it.
tomorrow. You'll be seeing a joint collaborative podcast with some of the Boiler Express guys and an IU podcast. Great people over there. It's going to be great. Yeah, they're going to be.
Burke is actually. I will attest to that. Burke is a cool dude.
Burke
He's
is
good
a
dude as
super
far as
cool
IU
guy,
guys
and
go.
he knows ball. Definitely one you're not going to want to miss for sure. Burke knows
100%.
basketball, and he is a very, very sensible and realistic person. So,
Which you don't find often within the Indiana fan base.
While we're
Mostly
recapping performances of
Banjos
last
and
week too,
Cousins.
I want to throw out there Lance Jones, man.
Oh,
Lance
How about
Davis.
Lance flipping Jones, man?
Yeah.
He's averaged
Flippin'.
18.2 points per game the last 5 games, including 3 of the last 4 for 20 or more. And I want to see that dude go off against IU Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see him drop 6, 7, 8 trays in there.
I mean,
I wanna
what
see-
this is
like-
the transfer game, right? I mean, how many home IU games in the last 10 years have been the transfer game for Purdue players? You know, from
Yeah.
it didn't happen
Hopkins
last
to-
season, but yeah.
Yeah, but Frank, that's the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll dive into that game a little bit more here in a second. Let's talk specifics about Wisconsin, like what went right, what went wrong. I feel like the first 4 minutes of that game, Wisconsin kind of dictated things. And then after that, Purdue dictated everything from that point forward. I feel like defensively, Wisconsin was forced, outside of a few Tyler Wall crafty post ups. Wisconsin was forced to taking the shots that Purdue wanted them to take. They got very few open looks, especially from the perimeter. And I felt like offensively, they were just kind of Purdue offensively forced Wisconsin into kind of a scramble situation. Had Purdue hit a few more outside shots, it would have been even worse. But they were mugging Edey, and it wasn't getting called to the the rate we would have liked to have seen. And they did make life tough on them. But we were just our guard stepped up, Braden stepped up, hit those pull ups. Fletcher, I think what he have 11 points, didn't attempt a single
12,
three,
something like that. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think. Oh, sorry.
I mean, Lance Jones, he took over that game.
Mm-hmm.
So Braden with 19, Edey with 18, LJ with 20, Fletcher with 12. And Gillis was 0 for 3 from 3 on 3 really good looks too. So
yeah,
more often than not, 1 or 2 of those are going to go in. But I feel like Purdue really controlled this game from beginning to end. And, outside of that 4-minute stretch, so not really from beginning to end, but for the vast majority of the game. And I never really was super nervous. I just felt like we were in control and we were forcing Wisconsin to play our style of basketball. I felt like Purdue did a good job on AJ Storr. He was 4 for 15 from the floor, and he still had 14 points, which is shocking to me. That just goes to show how good of a player he is and is going to continue to be. But it did a good job of taking Storr out of the game and taking Corral out of the game, in my opinion, which Painter said in the press conference was their goal. And what do you know? Tyler Wall went off, and that's what happens when you're playing a really good team. Someone else is going to step up.
And that's where, and kind of 2 points that I kind of want to bring up that I thought was interesting about the Wisconsin game is that they made life difficult on Edey, and we maintained composure. We didn't try and force it. And it was the total opposite of, and I hate to bring this up, but again, with FDU. When we played FDU, they made Edey's life hell, and we couldn't do anything around him. Where this game, a team that is way more talented, no disrespect to them, but they are, and Edey's life was made hell, and we were able to counter that by different players stepping up. The other
it
thing
seemed like. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
No, the other part I wanted to bring up was the tweet that came out yesterday, I think it was, with the little timeout adjustment where Painter was talking to Fletcher about a play, and he agreed to switch it because Fletcher said that he thought he could do and that was the alley-oop to Edey from 3-point line. I thought that was pretty interesting.
I love that play.
I love the play, and knowing the backstory behind it, I love it even more.
Yeah, and so there's a certain beauty with that play. So I'm gonna go on a little tangent here, but stick with me; it'll make sense. But for anyone who's scouted Purdue, they know Purdue loves to run Chicago series. Okay, and when Purdue gets into their Chicago series, the first thing they do is they run what's called a ram screen, which is basically the point guard setting a down screen or a pin down on the big's defender so that he can come up and get into that dribble handoff action. And the reason that they do that is so that the big can't necessarily interfere with that dribble handoff. They're still recovering from that screen. So Purdue will just and especially like in the Carson years and the years with Ivy, like 2 out of 3 times we came down the court, we were like initiating our offense in that action. Basically, Eric Hunter Jr. at the time was setting that down screen for Edey or for Trevion Williams to come up and get involved in that dribble handoff action. Well, every now and then the defense starts to overplay that initial ram screen. And so that big has the option to reject it for a lob and go right back. And it is the most beautiful counter because you just run the same cyclical action, then like, bam, backdoor lob. Like it's amazing. Dylan, I'm Dylan. It needs to be a clip. It'll make more sense with some clips there. We'll clip it.
Yeah, we'll clip that. The graphics department will get on that.
Yeah.
My brain hurts.
Slackers.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Russ, there's some laughter there.
Yeah, why are you laughing, Russ?
I was looking at Dylan's face glazing over a little bit there. Like, hey, Boilers by a billion, man. Boilers by a billion.
Yeah,
That's all that matters.
it's awesome. Yeah, but it'll all make sense when you can see it. When you can see the same screen getting set over and over
Can we
again.
can we put that? Can
Boom.
we put those clips on a live stream, or will they?
No, yeah.
No,
We
you
totally
can.
could. We'll
Yeah.
do that in
Oh.
the future when I
We just
plan to
can't
talk
live
about these
stream a
things
live
when
game.
it doesn't just come up.
Yeah, but I definitely think that moving on to the IU game, I mean, obviously IU's having some struggles. It looked like Ware might have had a significant injury in the Ohio State game.
I'm not sure that was a significant injury. I think he was embarrassed because he missed a transition layup, and then
And
after
we
the
watched
fact
that
was
together
like
live here
limping.
before the show, and I said,
He's like,
I said,
I'm
even if you
limping.
don't
I
get
got
injured,
hurt.
you gotta limp. You
Yeah,
got
but
to.
so I've read some things. Some people think it might be ACL-ish.
Wow.
Yeah. So obviously it's all dependent, but
Hope he's fine. Hope he's good.
Yeah. Obviously no Xavier Johnson, so everybody's testicles are safe. But Saturday primetime game on Fox.
Saturday.
Mackey is going to be twisted.
Yeah.
That is going to be full tilt, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
I think they say lit nowadays. I think that's
Yeah,
the
sure,
new lingo.
whatever.
Russ, you know the lingo. You dropped it no cap
No
today in the
cap.
group chat.
No cap. Be lit.
I
For
was
real.
thoroughly impressed.
I didn't know senior citizens could say that.
All the Purdue fans gonna be simping for Painter and the boys. You know,
I'm clipping that. That's gonna be clipped.
Please clip my face.
It's all gonna be clipped. Oh, that was good. That was good.
Fox needs to figure out some kind of tailgate show or pregame show for that game Saturday, because, like you said, Mackey's gonna be crazy.
I know. I really wish that we were on good terms as a conference with ESPN Game Day, because that would be a lot of fun to have game day at. But
What happened there?
Nerds gonna be nerds.
So how we feeling, boys? Ken Palm predicts a 20-point win.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, Ken Palm predicts a 20-point Purdue win.
That also makes me a little nervous.
Yeah.
That also makes me very nervous.
Yeah.
You realize we just beat them by 21 at their home court.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So-
But I mean, they also
does make me
went.
nervous, but at the same time, it's like maybe that's not high enough.
They also went, stone cold but they've been stone cold from perimeter all season. So they average 15.6 threes per game, which is in the third percentile for some context. So 27% of their shots are threes, which is in the fourth percentile. Their 3-point percentage is 33%, 32.9, which isn't terrible, but it's in the 41st percentile, so less than average.
Mhm.
But they're not a great shooting team, but they don't shoot a lot of three-pointers. So it's almost like they know who they are. The Noodle says that's it. That's the expected margin. Yeah, 20 points right now.
Yeah.
That may change depending on this game tonight. But I mean, one thing IU's done well this season is they've been able to get in the paint. And Purdue, the last game was able to shut that down. Malik Renew was pretty much a non-factor, and he's a really good player. I mean, he's a fantastic player. Khalil Ware got in foul trouble, as did Mackenzie Mbako. So we didn't really get to see a whole lot of them. And Purdue got out to an early big lead and was able to, maintain that for the most part. What if this game's different? What if we see a game where Ware has 2 fouls? Or Mbako has, only 2 fouls in the entire game, and we get to see those guys, play the entire game. Who knows what happens? But I think it's important to keep that context that this past game was, a lot of their key players getting in foul trouble.
Yeah.
Early on as well. So there's that aspect. I mean, Khalil Ware is an elite shot blocker as well. I don't know what his percentage is off the top of my head, but if you give me 1 second, I can tell you. He can shoot. He's long, he's lanky, he's athletic. He has the DNA, he has the makeup to give Edie some issues for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's in the 81st percentile in block percentage. So fairly good shot blocker.
Yeah.
So
to answer your question, I don't think, or maybe not a question you posed, but I don't think there's a scenario where Renew and M'Baku both stay out of foul trouble, because this isn't 2-3 years ago IU where they could hide Race Thompson on Edie and leave TJD Trace Jackson Davis to not get fouls on defense. Like, they have to have M'Baku and Renew on the floor to have their best chance to win. If Sparks is on the floor, it's because one of them is in foul trouble. And, shocker, bold prediction, one of them at least is going to get in foul trouble.
Yeah.
Unless, again, like I said, unless they all of a sudden call the game differently. And your hope is kind of for Edie to pick up a cheap foul or two, have to be sat, and then, well, let's see what happens. We'll ask Illinois about Trey Kaufman-Renn.
Well, and I would love to see, I'm not saying, I expect it, but I would love to see some kind of two-man action going on where I feel like Khalil Ware is going to have to respect Edie and stay home on Edie, which you'll have either the Renew or M'Baku matchup for Trey Kaufman-Renn. Kind of use Edie, outside of the paint a little bit, and let TKR go one-on-one. I would just love to see that, and see how that goes. But that's probably just my curiosity more than anything else. But given all this, how are we feeling?
I think 20 is accurate. I think that's probably what's going to happen. I think the Mackey crowd is just going to drive. Just that crowd's just going to drive crazy plays. It'll take like a couple threes in a row and a Zach Edey dunk before the roof blows off, and I'm catching pieces of Mackey in my front yard. But yeah, so I think it's just going to be Purdue by 17. I didn't see that. I could see Purdue by 17. I could see Purdue by 27. It really wouldn't surprise me. But it's going to be double digits, at least.
Yeah, I think the only thing that keeps it from being uglier is what we've seen already this year, which I saw some stupid chart posted. I don't know if it was in our chat or somewhere you guys saw on Twitter, but somebody posted about first half and second half splits and how Purdue is like slightly negative.
Yeah.
But it's because we called off the dogs. He doesn't want to beat these teams by 30 or 40 points. Yeah. And he respects Mike Woods, and he respects the IU-Purdue rivalry. He doesn't want to embarrass him with a 30 or a 40-point win. So I think that 20 is a good line. And if we don't see 20, I think that's why. I think it's because we call the dogs off too much, and they're still trying to get at it to keep that margin as low as they can.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think it's a good line. But if we don't hit it, I think that's why, not because we didn't dominate the way we should dominate.
Yeah.
So what Russ was referencing is a graphic that was going all over the place on Twitter today of every Big Ten team and showing their first half scoring margin and their second half scoring margin. And Purdue is actually negative, and this is in conference play only. And everyone's like, wow, Purdue's terrible in the second halves. Well, a third of our conference game have been 20+ point wins where we, where Will Berg has seen the floor. Not bashing on Will Berg. I'm just saying, he only comes in when it's a guaranteed victory. So like there's that aspect that has to be taken into consideration as well. But if you look at the games we've won, our margin is fairly even in the second half. I actually went and looked at it today.
And ignore the dominant first half too while you're trying to make that point. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean we know like statistically that the points scored in the first 10 minutes of the game are the most highly predictive of winning. That like whoever wins the first 10 minutes, that those first 10 minutes are the highest predictors of who's going to win the game is who wins those first 10 minutes. So you all seem to feel a lot more confident about a large margin of victory than I do. I just think that in these games, in these rivalry games, there's like stats go out the window, and numbers go out the window, and trends go out the window. Emotions run high.
Play devil's advocate and paint the narrative. Like, how does this happen at home in Mackey with our basketballs, our home crowd, Edie, Smith, Jones, how he's been playing? Like, what's the narrative? How does that happen if we do lose? Or if it is close?
Well, like I said, Ware's got the link to at least give Edie some difficulty. I'm just saying, what if Edie gets frustrated? First two shots don't go in. He gets frustrated. He picks up, he gets a cheap offensive foul. He gets another foul. Then all of a sudden it's TKR and Caleb First trying to score on Khalil Ware, who not speaking negatively about those two, but he's a lot longer than they are. That chokes off our inside game, which forces them to or allows them to lock down our shooters. I mean, there are all sorts of avenues that you could go. What if we just have a cold shooting night? What if we just have a night where we go 3 for 19 from three, like Wisconsin did in this last game, or just some rebounds don't bounce. I mean, there are all sorts of things that can happen. But I mean, do I think it's likely? No, but I just don't feel as confident about a 20-point win as you all seem to.
I will say I would agree if this wasn't a home game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Purdue, I mean, I'm predicting now, and Boiler uniforms, you can quote me on this, big game golds on Saturday.
Yeah.
And we get bananas with big game golds on.
We typically go off when we wear the scripts. I mean, we just saw Northwestern come into Mackey and do some crazy things. And I feel like,
but again, Northwestern and IU, two totally different atmospheres.
Yeah, I feel like they're a better team than Indiana for sure.
Oh yeah,
but there's that rivalry aspect. There's lots of conversation about should the coach be fired. Guys wanting to step up for their coach. Those players are on Twitter. I guarantee they're reading everything you are. They're hearing the stuff that Dockich is saying. Where these guys should be embarrassed. They shouldn't wear those uniforms. Blah blah blah. There's the human element too. Someone have some stuff going on in their life. There are all sorts of avenues, Russ. But I'm just saying that I think something like 10-12 is more what I'm comfortable predicting. I would love to see 20 or 30, but I just think that this isn't. Yes, this is a team that's ranked in the 100 realm in terms of KenPom, but I think that something like 10-12 points is.
I will say this: we will set a new 3-point record Saturday.
Wow!
Oh, whoa!
You heard it here first.
One reason it's hard for me to paint a narrative for IU to come in and compete is they don't have a guard that scares me as far as going off the way a Boo Buie can or a Jameer Young can, or even have a night like Finney used to have against us, or especially Hood Schifino last year. Like they don't have that player that can do that, and their best 3-point shooter
that's got that dog in him,
As a kid,
right?
No, yes. I thought you said I heard, but they have a guy who has that dog in it.
No,
I'm waiting to hear this.
They're missing a guy who's got that dog. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, fellas, I have to bounce. I have an emergency going on, so I will see you guys next week.
Peace. But yeah, so I just don't see a guy that can do that. And I talked about it too on Sunday, or I guess it would be posted today, that Purdue's also the top 3-point shooting team in the Big Ten, along with having Zach Edey. And I think that's why this team is way different. It's way harder to upset. It's way harder to put us out in the tournament this year because we're a lot more dynamic in that way. Like I think we were 5th or 6th in the conference last year, and we were very volatile. Although we had a good season average, we had a lot of up and down performances last year from the 3-point line. That's not really the case this year.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, Purdue definitely had games last season where it was just like 3-point shooting vanished. And, we said all season that we're like, well, we have those nights, but during those nights we have defense, I have a comment here from the Heel Brothers. Yeah. Purdue looks good. Hey.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Like you look at Northwestern, for example, people said, hey, they lost same Purdue team. They lost to Northwestern at Northwestern again. And it's like guard scoring was not existent last year. Wasn't the case this year. Shooting was not existent last year from the guards against Northwestern. Wasn't the case this year. Boo Buie just went off. They had a great night, and it was not in the cards for us. Like it's not the same team. This team is much more dynamic, and like I said, I don't think IU poses any threat. Like it might be closer than 20, but it's going to be because we call the dogs off, and they're still trying to run with it. Because yes, Trey Coppin-Renn's smaller than Edey, and Khalil Ware could give him more problems than he could probably give Edey, but Trey Kaufman's already shown against elite talent, a top 10 team, a Final Four caliber team in Illinois, that if he's got to step in and carry the load, he's going to drop 20 plus on you if he has to.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I don't know. I'm scared to get too high, Russ, I guess.
Did you catch any of the
mentioned.
coaches show tonight by chance?
I didn't know.
I
I plan on doing that during the day tomorrow. Yeah.
So it was actually Lusk. It wasn't Painter tonight. But one of the quotes I heard from that, I haven't watched it yet either, but one of the quotes I heard was there's an attitude and a mindset in the locker room this year, especially, that everybody hears the whole Purdue gets everybody's best shot. Like, I get that. That's like almost like overused now. But the idea in that locker room is, well, let's give them our best shot every night.
Mhm.
Like, we're the best team for the reason. We're the team they're coming after for a reason. Let's make them deal with our best shot, right? Let's do what we do and make them deal with us. Don't try to cater to them. Like, don't brace for their best shot or wonder who's going to go off. Like, go out and have the elite night you know that you're supposed to have because you're the best team in the country.
Yeah. And we've seen that. We haven't seen nearly as many head scratcher performances as kind of what we're used to seeing this time of year. I feel like this time of year it's like 1 out of 3 games. It's like, man, we just didn't look off. But we do look locked in. I felt like Nebraska kind of had that feel, but when I went back and watched it, it was more just Nebraska was hitting really good shots or really tough shots, and a lot of them more than anything else, which tends to magnify everything, especially when you're looking at it negatively. Yeah, I guess time will tell, Russ, in terms of how everything plays out this Saturday. But I am confident that Purdue will walk away with a win. I just think it's going to be a little bit closer than 20 points, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I also just want to throw out there to people that realize that the season is coming to an end. Right? We only have 9 games left at this point of the season. And it's going to be maybe a little bit boring, possibly, as far as the Big Ten schedule goes, even when you're looking at Illinois and Wisconsin, because Purdue, Illinois, and Wisconsin are done with the Nebraskas and the Northwesterns.
Mhm.
All we're looking at now is the last 3 games of the season that each of us play. It's kind of a round robin between Purdue, Wisconsin, Illinois, and it's going to come down to that. So you can kind of pay attention to, what Wisconsin and Illinois are doing, but I don't know that there's a lot of separation in the standings until that final part of the season.
Yeah. That's going to make it fun. It's going to make the end of the season really fun. Really fun, but we just got to take care of business between now and then too.
I hope for the sake of the conference that all 3 of us win out up to that point as well, because I think it's going to be a clear example that I think I think the Big Ten has 3 Final Four caliber, Elite Eight caliber teams in Purdue, Wisconsin, and Illinois. So I think it would be great for the Big Ten to kind of put to bed the fact that not just Purdue, but the Big Ten has not been great in the postseason for the last 20 or so years since Michigan State won it in 2000. So, I mean, I think there's been 10 conferences put a team in the Final Four since the Big Ten last did it.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd
Well,
be
I
really
think
cool to put 2 or 3 in there. Sorry, go ahead.
I saw something that said that of the 3 teams, Purdue, Illinois, and Wisconsin had the hardest schedule remaining. Now, looking at their schedule, they don't play at home this week. They play at Michigan and at Rutgers. We've seen Michigan with Doug McDaniel. They're pretty good, and then Rutgers is just a tough place to go and win for anybody. Then they play home against Ohio State, at Iowa, Maryland, who is just a wild card right now. Then they go to Indiana, a tough place to play. I mean, so there's then they play Rutgers, and then they do come to Purdue. Yeah, I mean, those are 3 of those games are coin flips in my opinion, and not disrespecting Wisconsin in any way. Just it's hard to win at the RAC. It's hard to win at Indiana. Maryland, Maryland's playing their best basketball lately. So, it's gonna be a fun final week of the season for sure.
Yeah,
For
Maryland
sure.
was that one team I was looking at that could be a wrench in the gears for Wisconsin and Illinois both, because
Yeah.
they do both have to face Maryland. And Maryland, like you said, they've started to turn around a little bit. Now they obviously step back a little bit against Michigan State. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah.
I am happy Purdue doesn't have to play Maryland again, because they're they're figuring things out on the defensive end. Their ball pressure has gotten a lot better. They're finding things offensively. Julian Reese seems to have found his stride a little bit. So there's a lot of things trending upward for this Maryland team.
And we get Michigan State at home as well for Purdue. So
Yeah,
those last 3 games are going to be interesting. Michigan State at home, at Illinois, home against Wisconsin.
yeah,
So
yeah. Michigan State scares me. I mean, I know they've had some struggles this season, but they don't have a bad loss. That's the one thing we have to keep in mind is, they do have some good wins, but none of their losses are bad losses.
I can thank James Madison for that one.
Yeah, I mean, James Madison, they're 69th in Ken Palm right now. So
Nice.
that's
Where's Dylan when you
pretty
need
good.
him?
What?
I
don't
said, where's
get it.
Dylan when you need him? He'll watch it and he'll get it. It'll be good.
But with that, we'll go ahead and wrap. We're coming up on the hour mark. Be sure to tune in tomorrow as we go head to head, so to speak, with Burke from Off and Donnet. Again, he's represents an Indiana podcast. It's going to be a really good episode. He's a really good guy. He's a fun guy to talk to. Knows quite a bit about basketball, and it'll be great to get his insight and get his perspective on this upcoming game and just IU season as a whole. So that's one you definitely won't want to miss. Russ, anything else from you before we sign off?
Check out what Dylan did with the hockey team as well too, if you haven't.
Really
yet.
good stuff. Yeah,
So, cool stuff there.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's all I got, man.
be on the lookout for some things on that front materializing pretty soon. Should be some cool stuff. But thanks for tuning in. Go Boilers, and let's get the win over Indiana.
Yes, sir. Boiler up.